Boxing has been riddled with mystery since its inception. Today we take a look at 5 boxers who suffered mysterious deaths. Number 5. Freddie Mills. Mills was an English light heavyweight world champion from 1946 to 1950, having defeated Gus Lesnovich to win the belt. Mills was a tough-as-nails opponent who could take as much punishment as he dished out, and he racked up 77 wins in 101 fights. Mills was found dead in his car outside his nightclub in London, England, on July 24, 1965, from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot through his right eye. His body was removed from the car by EMT personnel before the police arrived to investigate the scene. His death was ruled a suicide, but it's suspected that he was murdered by the mob, amongst other theories. A week prior, he had borrowed a non-functioning gun from a friend, which was found on the scene in working order. This added to the mystery. He was 46 years old at the time of his death. Number 4. Stanley KETCHEL. The Michigan assassin, Stanley KETCHEL, was one of the most promising middleweight champions of the early 20th century and one of boxing's pound-for-pound most vicious punchers. KETCHEL even dropped heavyweight champion Jack Johnson in a match staged more as an exhibition, angering Johnson, who then knocked KETCHEL out, along with a few teeth. KETCHEL was staying at a friend's ranch in Springfield, Missouri, along with Walter Dipley and Goldie Smith, a ranch hand and cook, who were thought to be married. KETCHEL was shot and killed on October 15, 1910, in an apparent botched robbery. Both Dipley and Smith were initially charged with the murder, though Smith's charges were later dropped. The true motive behind the death is still mysterious, as some have alluded to a relationship between Goldie Smith and KETCHEL being the issue. KETCHEL was only 24 years old. Number 3. Ernie SCHAAF. Heavyweight contender Ernie SCHAAF was a promising fighter looking to get a shot at the world heavyweight title. To achieve such a feat, the 24-year-old SCHAAF had to go through both Max Baer and Primo Carnera. SCHAAF was brutally knocked out by Max Baer in the 10th round of their 1932 fight in Illinois, but was saved by the bell and had to be revived by his corner. In early 1933, in New York, SCHAAF was again brutally knocked out by the sizable former heavyweight champion Primo Carnera and fell into a coma after the fight and never recovered. Some blamed the death on Max Baer due to the brutality of their earlier fight, while others believed that Primo Carnera was the man to blame. SCHAAF had 3 fights between the Baer and Carnera matchups and recovered from influenza before the Carnera fight. Could it just have been a combination of all those things? Should SCHAAF have been allowed to fight so soon after the loss to Baer? Was it a timing issue? Number 2. ZORA FOLLEY. ZORA FOLLEY was a top contender who shared the ring with the likes of Muhammad Ali in a losing effort in what was his first and only title bid near the tail end of his career. This fight also added a bit of fame to his name. FOLLEY also faced many of the other top heavyweights of his era. FOLLEY, 41 at the time, was in a motel swimming pool with friends and wound up dead from head injuries after supposedly goofing around with a male friend who was in attendance. Details are still murky, but his death was ruled accidental, though there were multiple head wounds. Some have theorized his death as a mob hit or done out of jealousy from his friends. FOLLEY was married with children at the time of his death, which brought about more speculation of what happened on that fateful night at the motel. There is probably no fighter who has generated as many conspiracies and questions surrounding both his career and death as the final boxer on this list, who is one of the most controversial figures in the history of the sport. Number 1. Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston is one of the most mysterious boxers to grace the sport. Even his exact birth is a mystery. The former world heavyweight champion came up rough in Arkansas and found himself having multiple run-ins with cops, including spending time in jail. Liston was repeatedly theorized to have been tied to the mob in his career, including individuals believing that he purposely lost his 2 fights against Muhammad Ali due to mob debts. Liston was found dead in his Las Vegas home by his wife on January 5, 1971, who didn't notify the police until 2 hours after his death. His death was ruled a heroin overdose, but many suspect it was a definite mob hit. Liston had been dead for a few days before his wife found him. Liston was known to have disliked needles, which made him overdosing from heroin seem questionable. Liston was believed to be 38 years old at the time.